Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me again on another one of my live videos. This is a series of videos that I put out once a week where it's actually all live. What I'm sharing with you guys is something that I think is going to be beneficial for both buyers and sellers who are looking to buy or sell a home in this market. And I just go ahead and, oh, by the way, if you haven't met yet, my name is Angela Olmos. I am a full-time realtor in the Northeast Florida area. I'm with United Real Estate. I have been buying and selling, helping people buy and sell real estate here in the Northeast Florida area for 20 years. And what I share with you guys on these videos are like little tidbits of information that I think would be helpful for you when you're looking to buy or sell. And in today's video, I'm going to share exactly that. I have a special ingredient that's going to sweeten up the deal. But before I dive into all of that, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my co-host, who, if you haven't met yet, if you know me personally, you probably have met my husband, Joseph Kaya. So let me go ahead and bring him up. He's with Sweeten Lending, and he is a finance expert when it comes to financing mortgages. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Well, hello, good afternoon to everyone. Well, again, my name is Joseph Kata with Supreme Lending, and I will be your, finance advisor, mortgage consultant, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so today's topic, I brought in something that I like to think of it as a special ingredient that's going to help sweeten up the deal. And, one thing that I found through my 20-year of real estate career is that everyone wants to feel like they're winning when they're buying or selling a home. Rightfully so. If you're a seller, you held on to that investment for some time, whether it was just a couple of years or 20 years or even longer than that. So you do want to feel like you're winning, which most likely you will, of course. And then the buyer also wants to feel like they're buying a home at a great deal. Regardless of the market, I think it's just human nature. We all want to feel like we're winning. So what I'm going to share with you guys is something, a special ingredient that does exactly that. It helps everyone feel like they're winning. It helps sweeten up the deal. Really, it's just a special ingredient. So what is something called concessions, okay? And concessions have become pretty popular here recently because it allows you to do several different things. But the tool that I brought here to share with you guys is exactly how concessions help buyers and sellers win. Okay, and I prepared a scenario. For example, okay, seller concessions are financial contributions that sellers agree to provide to assist with various buyers' expenses during a home purchase. Okay, so what are those expenses? When you're buying a home, you have your closing costs, of course, that you would have to pay to be able to buy that home. You might also have the expense of maybe buying down the interest rate. So those are all certain things that we can use as a concession, okay, to help sweeten up the deal. And how that would work from the seller side is basically the seller would be offering concessions that can enhance the appeal of their property, potentially expediting the sales process and attracting a wider pool of buyers. So I recently had a listing where I applied this ingredient to sweeten up the deal. And it was one where the seller had a significant amount of equity. And within that equity, we found an opportunity to create a seller concession where he was offering a $5,000 allowance towards the buyer's closing costs. Okay, and putting this on the listing is going to definitely help it stand out if a buyer is looking at similar listings that might not have that special ingredient, that concession, that extra $5,000 for the buyer to use towards several different things. But on this scenario, and before I get too far ahead of myself, for the buyers, what this means is that these concessions can significantly lower your purchasing costs. Like we were talking about, it could be closing costs. It could also make homeownership more accessible and affordable. So for example, okay, let's say you're buying a home that's priced at $450,000. You're taking out a conventional loan. You're buying this as a primary residence for you to occupy in, and you're putting 10% down. That's just a scenario, okay? This could be slightly different. It could be a slightly different home price or loan program or down payment, but we're just going to go ahead and demonstrate how this would work. On a 450 conventional loan, primary residence with 10% down. So a standard purchase, okay, if you didn't have this special ingredient, this concession, $450,000 purchase price without a seller concession at a 10% down would normally average approximately a monthly payment of $3,750 per month, okay? And then by bringing 10% down plus your closing costs, that could potentially have you bringing $62,632 to closing. Okay, that's very common. We do see this types of structured deals very common. What I'm about to show you guys is something that's going to sweeten up the deal. Okay, and rather than doing it just that way, we're going to go ahead and apply a concession. And here are a couple of ways that you can see how a seller concession can make this more favorable. Okay, so let's say that the seller is willing to buy down the interest rate for the buyer. Okay, and of course that comes at a cost. And they're not buying it for the whole length of the year, but they're rather just buying it for the first 2 years. And let me tell you what a difference that makes. That usually has a cost, of course. That would be roughly about $9,385 that the seller would contribute. Okay, but let me tell you what it does to the buyer or for the buyer. Okay, that monthly payment that was originally $3,750 now drops to $30,169. So that's a $581 saving simply by applying that concession, that special ingredient that's going to sweeten up the deal. And that also lowers the amount that they have to bring to closing by nearly $2,000. Now they're only bringing $60,961. So it works beautifully when the seller offers it to a buyer as a way of buying down their interest rate. Very, very effective. Now, another way it could be used is, let's say we take that same bulk of money, in this case, just to make it simpler, we're going to go ahead and use a $10,000 concession from the seller, okay? Now, if we did that, okay, the monthly payment, that concession could be used for closing costs too. Let's say you wanted to try something different and just use it towards your closing expenses. Well, in that case, the payment would stay the same, but now you're bringing $52,636 to closing, which is obviously a $10,000 savings up front. That's today's money, like on the day of closing, what you have to expedite. That's an immediate savings. And I want to kind of turn the page a little bit and have you guys think of in terms of offering on house. You can see here that, the difference is what, $10,000 that, the seller is willing to provide, right? So if you came in with an offer, right, and said, no, I want to have this home discounted by $10,000, so now you're offering $440. It's not going to make as much of a difference as getting the concession and applying it this way. $10,000 price reduction won't save $581 per month. So it's just the way, the magic of the numbers and how all of this could be structured. So I wanted to give you guys that to think about. If you're selling a house, that might be a consideration. That's something that you might want to consider. If it's still, if you have the equity to do so, maybe sweeten up the deal, make your home stand out, and offer some sort of selling concession, whether it's $10,000, $5,000, whatever you're comfortable with. We could always chat about that. Let me just make sure that you know how to contact me, because every house is a little different and every situation is a little different. So I'll be able to recommend if this will be a great strategy for you. And you can just connect with me on the phone that's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. All right, that's what I have for now. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up your info, Joseph.
Sure.
And you take it from there, honey.
Yeah. Well, this is really, this topic can really relate to concessions, because this program is a 2-1 temporary interest rate buy down. Let me define it first, okay? So a 2-1 temporary interest rate buy down is a temporary buy down, allows borrowers to lower their monthly mortgage payment by paying lower interest rate for a limited period of time, the first and second years of the loan. So you have that concession. Let me give you an example. Okay, that concession can be put towards closing cost, okay, which is a one-time fee, or better yet, interest for the life of the loan. For instance, if it's an ongoing rate right now that you currently have or you qualify for is 7% interest rate, okay, just an example, then if we would if we would apply this 2-1 temporary interest rate buy down, what would happen? It doesn't matter if you have a conventional loan or a government loan. It can be applied to either programs, okay? To both programs. So what would happen? 7% is your ongoing market rate, okay? So for the first year of your loan, you would be paying 5% interest rate, okay? 5% interest rate for 12 months, okay? Your loan amount will be calculated at that 5%, okay? We're using 7% as an example of your ongoing rate. First year, 5%. Second year, that would be 6%, okay? So that loan amount, okay, that loan amount will be calculated on a 6% interest rate for the second year. And then for the third year, your ongoing rate will kick in. So in this example, it's 7%. That 7% will kick in on the third year. So whatever the loan amount is, multiply that by 7% interest rate, and that would be your monthly principal and interest. Obviously, you would add the taxes and insurance and HOA if applicable, okay, on your property. So it really helps out a lot. In a nutshell, really the 2-1 temporary interest rate buy down, it's giving you a break on the monthly payment. You know, so perhaps an example is on the first year, you might be saving $300 because of the lower interest rate. And then on the second year, you would be saving $200. And then on the third year, which is your ongoing rate, for this example, we're using 7%, and that would be for the life of the loan. Okay, right. So for any questions, if you have any questions, or you want me to assess your pre-approval or your current situation, and therefore please give me a call, or let's set up an appointment. Maybe we could do face-to-face at a third-party place like Starbucks, like a coffee shop, or we could meet in my office downtown Jacksonville, in a conference room, beautiful view of the city, and we can basically assess or evaluate your situation.
Right. And, I think what's most important here is to make sure that everyone's aware that there is something that we can do to sweeten up the deal. And,
yes.
Not everyone is fully aware of that. And that's just putting it in simplest terms. If this was something that you were making, like a recipe, this is something that's going to sweeten up the recipe. This is something that's going to sweeten up the deal. This is something that's going to make the buyer feel like they're winning, because obviously there's a lot of savings on year 1 and 2. And I would probably say that those are very important years when you're buying a home. That's when you first get adjusted to home ownership. Let's say this was your first property that you're buying. You might, this might be a brand new experience for you being a homeowner. So wouldn't it be helpful to make sure that those payments are more affordable for you while you're going through that transition period? I would think so. Then also on the second year, that's going to adjust, gradually until years 3 to 30, which by that time, exactly, what you can expect. We're already adjusted. You're used to being a homeowner. Roughly how the budget of the house is going to run. So I really think that this is very, very helpful. And it could be applied on any kind of finance program, which is something that I also appreciate. If you're taking on a conventional loan, you can still add on a special ingredient. If you're taking on an FHA loan, you can add on a special ingredient like this. And if you're taking on a VA loan, the same. So I think this is super helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Joseph.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what? This one here, the 2-1 temporary interest rate buy down, really benefits both. It benefits the buyer, number one. And then if the seller is willing to give concessions, and therefore, like, you know what, it helps the seller to move the inventory faster. You know what, his or her property will move faster in the market.
Yeah, and one thing that I also want to say is that most people think of a good deal as the sales price of the deal. And in theory, that would make sense. But in actuality, there are so many other things besides the sales price that you can work with to make that a good deal. I would say if you could keep the sales price the way it is, that would be a much better received offer. But perhaps include one of these concessions to still help the buyer negotiate something that's favorable to them. So at that point, now you have a seller that's winning because he's getting a full price offer, or potentially a closer to a full price offer. But now you also have a buyer that's winning because now he had a seller concession that's going to help reduce the interest rate for the first 2 years, and therefore save a boatload of money during that time where they're adjusting to homeownership. So I really think that this is a great strategy. And if you have any questions at all as to how this works or how you qualify or anything like that, please feel free to connect with Joseph. I have this information. Scroll to the bottom of the screen, and we are here to help. And did I disclose that we are a married couple? I think I'm supposed to disclose
yes,
that.
You did. Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Earlier this, the beginning of the show.
Okay, good. We're a real estate family. We're here to help. And he takes care of the financing side, which is a complete matrix. I mean, there's so many moving parts with that. I actually help you with the sale process. So whether you're looking to buy a home or sell a home or invest in real estate, that's what we're here for. And that's why we put out this information on the weekly to make sure that you know what's happening, what's trending, what you can do. I feel that if you have a lot of information or information that's relevant, that's really important, you're going to be able to make better decisions. And that's ultimately what we all want. So, all right, Joseph, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, and also for all the potential buyers. Again, like, you know what, we can streamline the process. Let's get to pre-approved first thing and foremost, okay? And then you might be eligible. Okay, take note again, Angela. Let me remind people that the Hometown Heroes for first-time home buyer is still available. Take note, the last time I checked, the availability out of 100 million is 68 million. And this program started July 1st. It's only been 20 days. So the 32 million has been they've been utilized, and we still have 68 million to go until it's exhausted. So please do not procrastinate. You want to get pre-approved, now, okay? I will give you the link, Angela, so they can schedule their pre-approval, or perhaps they just give me a call and we can assess the scenario immediately. Because if they're pre-approved, if you are pre-approved as a home buyer, and therefore I have to relinquish it to Angela, and then you get the buyer consultation from Angela, all the specifications that you want in a property, and she can basically do a research for you.
Yeah, and I look forward to that opportunity, but I think it's worth mentioning that you do work with more realtors than just myself, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, absolutely. Not just, I will work, if the buyer has a realtor, and therefore, I will communicate with your agent, and therefore, letting you know that you have been pre-approved, and then whoever your realtor is, I will relay the pre-approval letter to your realtor, and then from there we can start while you're shopping for a property. There's another, streamlined process here. What we can do, we can start underwriting the loan on the first phase. Income, credit, employment, and assets.
Oh, I love that.
While you're shopping property, yeah.
Can we just talk
so we can move faster?
Of course. Can we just talk about that for just a minute, because that was so important.
Sure.
A lot of times you have where you're going through the mortgage process at the same time that you're buying the house, But the way that Joseph is able to process these loans, he could have the whole buyer file completely underwritten so that when we find that home, it's just a matter of underwriting the house, and then the process is going to be so much quicker. And then you're less likely to come across any kind of surprises because the whole file has already been underwritten for you ahead of time, as opposed to just waiting for you to get a contract and then putting it through underwriting. So there's some caveats, there's little tidbits of information that you should know that's going to help the process move along a lot quicker. Yes. And you know what else I think is worth mentioning, Joseph? Because we deal with this on the daily, the hometown heroes. But sometimes we take on the maybe we think that everyone would know this because it's like we hear about real estate every single day. Maybe not everyone does. But just in case you haven't heard about the hometown heroes, I think it's worth mentioning really briefly that there is a down payment assistance available to first-time home buyers here in Florida, currently available, that could give you as much as up to $35,000 to assist in down payment assistance and closing costs. And that's probably as far as I'm going to go with it because there's so many moving parts as to like if you get 35,000 or do you get 25,000 or you get 18. I think a lot of that has to do with your ratios, the type of or the sales price that you're buying. So connect with Joseph about that.
Yes, every case would be customized because not everyone is the same. So you know what? Please give me a call first, and then we can assess your scenario. And then if you have a friend, like, you know what, that's going to be a different scenario. So that would be a separate appointment, you know?
Right. So I have his information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Very easy to work with. And I look forward to helping you guys. All right. With that said, thank you so much for joining me today, Joseph. I really appreciate it. I like having a call.
Yeah, again, it's a pleasure. We can do this every weekend, and then like really, like, you know what, give buyers or people who are in the market, or you know, we got to give the information. They have to be in the know, you know.
Yeah, that's what the whole purpose of this is. It's just to share our knowledge, what we see that works, you know, to help you guys, you know, gain clarity. And then, of course, when you're ready, because not everyone is ready to buy a house every day or to sell a house every day. I heard a statistic recently where it said that the average home seller is selling a house every 5 to 10 years. So we want to give you the information so when you're ready, we can help you. You know, we want to be the obvious choice. We want to be the you know, the ones that have the information that's best suited for you, because one thing that we know is every case is different. So, you know, the consultation just becomes so much more important, finding out really, you know, where you're at, where you're going, what's important to you, what's going to be the best strategy. That's what we specialize in. So we are here to help. All right. Until next time, I'm gonna send you guys off with my official send up. But until next time, remember to be kind to one another, and I will see you guys on the next videos. Take care.
Well, have a nice weekend, guys.